I was looking through the channel videos in preparation for a podcast then I'm about to record, and I discovered when I did that that today, April 17th, 2021, is the 5-year anniversary of Geek Gamers. Geek Gamers turns 5 today, and I thought to mark that occasion, I was really surprised to discover that. I would just do a brief video talking about a few things. We're looking at here Legions of Darkness. This is the first game that was ever on the channel, and it had been filmed. The video for that actually had been filmed on an iPad and sat in an iPad like unposted for over a year because I just filmed the video as a sort of lark with one of my kids as a way of, at the time she was really into making videos, and I wanted to spend more time with her. And so we filmed something on the iPad and just left it there. I had no concept of YouTube or anything like that. And then about a year or so later, when she was a little bit older, we discovered it, and she said, you can post this on YouTube. And I said, well, why would I post that on YouTube? And she said, maybe someone will watch it. So we did. And I remember maybe it was a few days later, a few weeks later, I don't know, I forgot about it. And I looked at the channel and I saw that I had 35 subscribers. And I was just amazed at that and wondered who those people were. And that was sort of the beginning of Geek Gamers. And the next video that I posted on the channel, and don't worry, we're not going to go through all of them, but the next video I posted on the channel was a video on a game that remains one of my favorite games, which is Struggle for the Galactic Empire, which is a solitaire war game by Joseph Miranda based on the Isaac Asimov Foundation universe and world. And in this game, you are trying to prevent your empire from collapsing, and it sort of famously begins with a whole bunch of chaos thrown at you that you have to deal with, and it's just a superb game. And that was the second video I posted on the channel, and this one was filmed in the night next to a sleeping baby, and therefore it is super quiet. But nevertheless, that was the beginning of the channel, and I continued the channel essentially bringing out old war games, old sci-fi and fantasy war games from my gaming closet, and noticing that there just were not a lot of videos at that time on YouTube about them, or in many cases, there were no videos about these games on YouTube. Maybe there are some now, and that's how the channel began. The biggest, I think, turning point in the channel came a year later when I filmed a video on also one of my favorite games. This is the James Bond 007 Assault game. This is a 1986 game from Victory Games. And this is what's key here. It says a complete board game for use alone or with the James Bond 007 role-playing game. Now, when I bought this game partially or wholly because it said somewhere on the back that it was you could play it with do the simulation. I loved the James Bond franchise, and it said perfect for incorporation into an ongoing campaign or as a standalone combat game. And it says that it has complete character information for James Bond and these other characters, easy to learn, comprehensive rules for playing the game, again, as a standalone or to incorporate it into role-playing. And that really intrigued me. I did the video, and when I did the video, and I will put up the link to this video here, I did show how you could incorporate it into the 007 RPG game, and that really was the first video I posted on solo RPGing or any aspect of it. And shortly after that, I posted my Easy Ways to Be Your Own GM video, which remains my most watched video and set the framework for my conceptualization of solo RPGing. Now, in these 5 years and in the 270 plus videos on the channel, I am going to boil down my top 5 favorites in 3 categories. The first category is in RPG rule sets that I like to play solo. The second category is in newer games, and by newer, I'm going to sort of say games in the past 10 years, and then the final category will be in older games. These are just games. There's not a ranking within the top 5. It's just when I sat down quickly to think about what rose to the surface in terms of my favorites, this is what I came up with. On the solo RPG or RPG rule sets for solo play, the first one in the list, but this isn't really in ranking order, is Forbidden Lands. And I should say I probably have videos on everything I'm going to discuss somewhere on the channel, but I won't be able to put up links to all of them here. Forbidden Lands, Rogues and Raiders in a Cursed World, the very fact that it comes in a box that looks like a game is indicative of part of the approach to this rule set. It is solo friendly. There are the Legends and Adventurers booklet, which gives you backgrounds and adventure generators. The rules are clean and the setting is familiar enough to standard fantasy, yet offers something else. And this is just a phenomenal rule set for playing solo. Another phenomenal rule set for playing solo, though this does not have solo adaptability as much as Forbidden Lands in terms of baked into it, is Symbaroum. The reason for this being so successful solo, I think for me, is the development of the world and the artwork that is involved in creating a feeling of the game. And the rules support this solo play because you can purchase this one book, which has the player's guide and the GM's guide within it, and with a little bit of imagination, come up with a solo story that will be involving and will just place you inside a world that is very well fleshed out in the book itself, but also leaves a lot to the imagination. So Symbaroum has been a big hit with me. Reaching a bit further back in publication timeline is Scarlet Heroes, and this is probably, if one was going to purchase one RPG rule set to play solo and only one, I would say it should be Scarlet Heroes. Why? Well, it is explicitly meant for solo gaming, at least in part, and when it is not meant for solo gaming, it's meant for one player and one GM. Very flexible, very adaptable, OSR friendly, OSR based, could pick up it as an overlay, as the designer Kevin Crawford has described it as, and put it onto other rule sets, other worlds, and it gives you the flexibility as well as the structure to create solo gaming. In a different vein, not designed for solo, but something of recent publication that really captured my imagination and which was simple enough, yet involving enough through the art direction and the overall presentation of the rules as you see them here, is a game I'm still not sure how to pronounce correctly, Merc Borge, perhaps. It is a doom metal album of a game, a spiked flail to the face, rules light, heavy, everything else. Slightly different from what one might consider to be standard fantasy fare, as you can see from this flip through of the book. Absolutely compelling to me and flexible enough to be filled with narrative generation from you as the player and as the GM. Definitely all of these I have videos on my channel. And the last one I'll mention here is Maze Rats, which I have like the opposite presentation of because I just have this PDF that I printed out in my notebook here. Maze Rats is a fantasy adventure game of exploration, problem solving, and survival. It's not intended for solo per se, but the way the rules work and the way there are wonderful tables for random generation of magical items, as well as world building sessions, how to create physical details and personalities, monsters and animals, extremely solo friendly and easy to get into, not too many rules, but making the most out of a small rule set. Wilderness regions to create those tactical building features, as you can see here, even though I'm showing it to you sideways, treasures and equipment, creating a city, very effective and efficient use of tables for the soloist. In terms of games of more recent ilk, and by recent I mean the past 10 years and forward, the games that come to mind as significant, memorable, sticking around, what I would not get rid of are Dark Venture, Descent, Dungeon Degenerates, Fortune and Glory, and Too Many Bones. What do they share in common? I was thinking about that. Aside from Descent, I would say that they're all really expansive on some level, and they are all actually explicitly kind of in various ways overland type of games. There's not really a dungeon crawl in there. There is in Descent. In terms of top 5 older games, over the years of my gaming, these are the games that have stood out and stood the test of time for me. Runebound, Warhammer Quest, Talisman, Struggle for the Galactic Empire, which I mentioned earlier in the video, and Invasion of the Air Eaters. Invasion of the Air Eaters was one of the first games I bought when I was much younger, not realizing it was a war game and thinking it was for solo play because the back of the booklet said it was for solo play, and I bought it in like a $2 bin, a used bin in the back of a gaming store. That really set me out on my gaming journey to play a game and have to modify it, house rule it, create some story with it because I was always playing it solo. And those are the games when I just sit down quickly and think, what older games do I absolutely love? Those are the 5 games. Again, I want to thank the viewers of the channel, the gamers, the RPGers, the DMs that have been watching the channel and commenting on the channel and sending emails to the channel over the years, in particular around the conversations about narrative in games, whether it's board games or RPGs, and the possibilities that are available to solo players with the myriad of RPG rule sets out there. The channel is going to continue. I will continue talking about RPGs. I'm still going to do some board games as it strikes my fancy because I am a board gamer always, in addition to all the RPG work that I do.